And if you just start on one of your changes, what have you asked to see of Hoskins this week, and what's been limited rugby for him over the past few months?
I played last weekend for Counties, which is why we released him, to get him ready. He's trained really, really well. Just be himself, like he's been part of our group. He's been training alongside Artie regularly, and putting pressure on during the training weeks. Knows his roles well, and we just want him to go and, I guess, execute the game that we need him to be played, but also to not be afraid to show some of the skill set that he's got.
Can it be tough to manage a player when they're probably very eager for game time, but you probably can't quite give them the game time they want?
Yeah, but that's part of being a squad, and the guys all know that there's 15, and then there's a bench, and then there's guys that don't get named, and so how we train, how we prepare each other, it's always been a philosophy that everyone's getting ready to play, and it certainly is a test year when you haven't played a test match for the last couple of months, but he's been with us. But we have been able to get him back playing NPC a couple of times, and that gives him a good hit out. And again, we're just confident that he's ready.
You've asked for consistency and performance, and it's obviously been something that's been hard to come by this year. From what you've seen during the week, do you feel you're close to getting those consistent performances?
Well, I think the consistency we've been demanding is probably during the training week first, and really feel that we're getting there. And again, this week's like the other ones, we've been training well, and we're primed and ready to go. It's a big game in the rugby championship. Everyone's sort of on the same starting line, so with 2 rounds to go, it's a big weekend to make a bit of a statement.
Ian, just back on Hoskins, how has he kind of been dealing with the week and kind of, I guess, knowing he has these very big shoes to fill?
Good. He's ready to go. He's wanted to go before, and he hasn't had the chance. So, he's fine. He's confident. He doesn't. Hard to tell with Hoskins sometimes. He's quiet, and he's got his way of doing things. But we got complete faith in him, and he wouldn't be there if we weren't really confident that he's ready.
When it comes to this week, you mentioned the consistency. What else have you been asking to see from the guys through this week?
Oh, look, I think we just, I think we talked earlier about the preparation. So we're just making sure we keep growing how we prepare as a group. But secondly, I think it's about just having real confidence in what we do. And I think when you have a couple of losses early in the season, it's easy to go into your shell, and you end up wanting something so much that you stifle a little bit of the way that you play. And so it's just a matter of encouraging people that you know your role, you're prepared well, just go and do it. And I think we saw that in Hamilton, and the key now is to go and see it again. We just need players to go in the park and back themselves, know they're skillful players, and away we go.
Does it help to a degree? Like, certainly, haven't been on the ground that long, but from a kind of superficial perspective, it seemed pretty low key this week in the city. They've got a lot of other sports that they care about. Does that help kind of flying under the radar a little bit?
Not really. I don't think so. It's we certainly know we won't be flying under the radar on Thursday night. So our prep, I mean, we get into our own little zone about how we prepare, and I'm sure the stadium will be humming when we get there, so that's what we're expecting.
Ian, are you happy to get a chance to see Scott at 6 again? I mean, you said earlier in the season, you weren't done with this, and you've been as good as you were. Are you happy to see this chance?
Yep, it's like I said, we were really pleased with his test against Ireland. Circumstances meant that we didn't go there again, but it's just it's an option. We've clearly want to keep up our sleeve and use, and it's a great occasion for it.
How long do you expect Shannon to be out for?
Don't know yet. So his took a blow in the ribs. Doesn't look like it's too bad, so he'll join us on Sunday night, and we'll see.
In terms of the Bledisloe, it's obviously been 19 years that the All Blacks have held it for. Do you think the New Zealand public potentially take that for granted, and how do you reinforce the importance of it to the team?
Oh, we talk a lot about it. This week we've spoken a lot about the Rugby Championship, and the importance of that, and where we sit on that table, and that's been key for us. And the Bledisloe is sort of an added trophy alongside that. So it's so for us it's a massive trophy, and the fact that we've had it for a while is probably testimony to that. It's something that we don't take lightly, and it means a lot to us. And do the public understand? Oh, I think they do. Well, I don't. I think the Bledisloe has always been a trophy that our public are excited about. New Zealand Australia Test matches are pretty special, and the fact that we've held it for a while is nice, but kind of irrelevant right now. For us, it's about the here and now, and there'd be nothing better than to lock that away on Thursday night.
What's your read on the Wallabies and the way they've been tracking this year?
Some really good stuff, and then haven't been able to probably back it up the next week. Sound familiar?
Yeah, it does. Do you take any lessons out of the way that both teams are sort of searching for that consistency?
Well, I think what we've got is we've got a rugby championship that's very even. All four teams have the same record, don't they? And so it's easy for us to focus on us, but all four teams are the same boat. So, maybe it is evening up a little bit, and what it does is it shows you the importance of the here and now, and just focusing on what we have to do. And so I'm sure they're in the same boat, and for them, I guess it's a massive test because it's a home test, and it's they kind of have to win it to have a chance of the Bledisloe, and for us it's a massive test because we've got a rugby championship that's important to us, and it's also a chance to win that same trophy.
They've gone with Bernard Foley at 10 for the first time in 3 years. How do you think that might change the way they?
Yeah, well, obviously their hand's been forced. With that, I haven't seen their full team, but I've heard that one. So he's a really good organiser. Probably more an organising team. Very astute, very experienced Test match player. And he's played with a lot of their players for a long, long time. So I kind of don't see it as being a major change for them. And he'll probably bring a bit of enthusiasm and love the chance to put his hand up to get back into that group. So I certainly don't think they'll lose anything, and they may even gain a little bit.
Ozzy, you've described Australia as a ruck and run style of rugby that they play. So do you see one of the real challenges for your group not being sucked into playing at their tempo? They do like to open the game up a wee bit.
Yeah, well, I think we both like to play at that sort of tempo, really, and so both teams will do whatever they can to stop it, I think, because we've seen if they get front foot ball, they've certainly beefed up some of their ball carry options, and all designed to get them behind you and get speed of ball and start to exploit that short side and get their nines moving at you. So. And so in some ways the game doesn't change a lot from Argentina, where you've really going to have to control that gain line and control that tackle point, pretty important. So we kind of know their game, and it's because it looks a little bit similar to ours at times.
Ian, what would be your response to just the general punters who would look at the form guide and think that the All Blacks might be more vulnerable this year than other years?
I'd say they just looked at the form guide, really, and so my response, I can't sort of control what people think. All I can control what we're working on, and I guess there's probably going to be it's a big chance for one of the teams on Thursday to make a bit of a statement about that, isn't there, and to build a bit more consistency in their game.
Has the results, throughout the whole year and everything that's gone on, taken a personal toll on you, and how have you dealt with that and not let it affect the group?
Yeah, fine. I'm still my bubbly personality.
Ian, have you done a bit of a deep dive into why you haven't been able to post back-to-back wins? I mean, have you identified anything in particular, or is it just this evening up of the competition?
Well, I think you can get over paranoid about it, I reckon, when you look back. We assess each game as it goes along, and there's different reasons for different things. Like it's been a pretty unique year for us in many ways, and both Aussie and us came off July series that we lost, and there was a bit of soul searching, and we obviously made a few changes. The fact that we go to South Africa and have 2 tests in South Africa in a new format and come away with a win and a loss is probably not unusual for the All Blacks, in all honesty. And it's not easy to win 2 over there, and so I'm not getting over-reading into that. Disappointing one for us was obviously the Christchurch in the last quarter of that game, and we think we've learned a lot from that. So, I reckon we're taking some steps that we can control, and these next 2 tests are a big chance for us to keep showing that we are learning.
Coming off your best kind of sustained attacking performance, how important is it to kind of, I guess, realise or understand what went into that, the variation of your kicking game, for example? How important is it that you don't kind of fall in love with the fact you just ran in all those trials in that game?
Well, I think the best thing to read into that game was our best defensive game. I'd actually say it was probably a better defensive game than it was an attacking game, and I think that we put Argentina under a lot of pressure and forced mistakes, and that gave us opportunity to play what we wanted to do. So the lessons for this week is probably the same. We've got a lot of respect for the way Aussies play, the speed, their skill sets, and we know that if we're not up defensively, that you're chasing your tail a little bit. So I think this game starts a little bit at that end of the game rather than the attack side.
The Australian teams found a bit more success in Super Rugby this year compared to Trans-Tasman in 2021. Do you expect that to translate into the Wallabies on Thursday?
Well, I hope not. I think they clearly they've got their own plan of improvement, and the fact that they've beat the South Africans is reflective of they are a quality team that are working hard at stuff. They've got probably some influence from some of their super teams in the way they play and in their coaching group, and that probably gives them a bit of security and consistency in some aspects. So they're probably feeling pretty good where they're at, but they would have been disappointed with their last game and again want to prove a point.
Is there a bit more added excitement in the group, given that it's 2 teams that clearly want to run the ball, play a bit of rugby, just on the back of the remarks we heard the other week about how Argentina were playing not to lose rather than trying to win?
I didn't make those statements.
Oh, not you personally.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think Argentina did that, to be perfectly honest, but I actually quite like the way Argentina's played, their mentality. But if I come back to the question, it's yes, it is. I love these games, and the team love these games, and particularly it's great coming to Melbourne to play, and at Marvel Stadium, it'll be exciting, and it's a great sporting city, and the guys feel that. So whilst there may not be a lot of vibe about it in terms of the build-up, we know what it's going to be like when kick-off comes. And look, the last 2 or 3 years we've had some great tests with Australia, and they have been open. But like I said, it's not a matter of going out there, Jamie, and just trying to play open rugby. It's a matter of trying to play accurate rugby and making sure that we make them work hard for the metres they get. And I guess they'll be trying to do the same for us.
Marvel Stadium's obviously got a roof, you partner roof in Dunedin, but is there anything you need to adapt to in terms of the stadium on Thursday night?
No, I don't think so. I think it's we're pretty used to the different sort of circumstances we get, and the guys love it. We love the stadiums and the big stages. And there's another one.
Ian, what have you made of the Wallaby set piece? It seems to be a bit hit and miss, and obviously there'll be no Laureano. He's also having a baby, but by naming Scott at number 6, is that perhaps a line out from an area that you could exploit?
Yep. it's always an area you got to go away and you've got to try and nail that as a key part of the game. It is an area that we're really confident that we're growing in that part of the game, and so it's something that we're gonna try and work on really hard. We see it as a key facet of this Test match, and we know they've got an abrasiveness about them in their set piece, and we've also seen some areas of improvement in their game in that aspect the last 4 Test matches. So it's a big battle, but it's one that I guess there's a few changes on both sides of the team, and it's going to be, I guess, who's prepared well and who settles the most into their combinations.
Ian, just on the scheduling for the Thursday night game, what do you feel about Thursday night games, generally speaking?
I get the days of the week mixed up when I tell people which day it is. No, look, it doesn't make a lot of difference to us. We're both teams coming off a bye. We're both playing each other the following week, so I think from that side it's very equal. My understanding is that there was just lack of stadiums at the time that they were looking to put it, so that's why it got moved to Thursday. So, but that's Australians' decision, not ours, and we just responded to that.
Is it much of an adjustment, or do you just basically plan everything the same but 2 days back? Is that how it works for you guys?
Well, I'd probably prefer to play on a Saturday, but I don't think it's much of an adjustment. So I don't think there's anything there. I think the stadiums are all going to be pretty well booked out, but a few teams have got knocked out, haven't they? So probably could have gone. Hard to tell that right now.
Ian, does it feel like Hamilton was a kind of a weight off the shoulders, or will you?
I love the fact you compare Melbourne to Hamilton. That's awesome.
No, the Hamilton performance. Yeah, I mean, does it really feel like the guy, for everybody, was kind of that sort of performance? Answered a lot of critics.
No, not at all. I don't. I just think it's. You don't. One game doesn't change a lot in this business. You move on from one game very, very quickly, and you move into the next. So, if it's a loss, we try not to get too down. We try to get factual about how we're going to go and fix it. If we have a win, you certainly enjoy the night, but then you start worrying about the next one. So it's that's kind of the business. And so, if you have a good win in Hamilton, in some ways it puts us under more pressure, doesn't it? Because we want to make sure that we keep taking steps forward.
So in saying that, Ian, what would, after the year that's been finally getting back-to-back wins, actually mean to you here in the Hamilton of Australia?
That's just, I kind of feel like I've answered that, to be fair. It's a big game in the Rugby Championship. It's a big game in the Bledisloe. So these are the ones we want.